here except I do what? I scream. It is the same process here as well. It is the same process. You create that distance, sex becomes laborious. And you say things like, I'm here for sex. Sex is enjoyable. It is very enjoyable. If you are not enjoying it, please, you must come and see us. Because chances are there are other issues that need to be dealt with. Next slide, please. So how shall we proceed then? We've been talking about how physical factors, poor communication, psychological factors can impede our sexual satisfaction or fulfilling relationships. How do we proceed? 1, focus on meeting your partner's needs and communicating your needs in a loving and respectable manner. See, nobody likes to be criticized, but you can be criticized and still like it. If I come to you and say, you are not a man, when you insult our manhood, it's a big insult. So everything else you say doesn't make sense. But if I come and I say, I would like you to do more for me, it's no longer you, it is who? Me. How many of you have Madam's time or Mr.'s time, where in that process of sexual activity is for her alone? I mean, you are there, but you are focusing on her needs and not yours. How many of us are able to do that? You answer it in your head. How many of us are able to do the vice versa? Madam's time or Mr.'s time. When you do things like that, you know what happens? When you fight, before Mr. or Mrs. time, you will resolve the fight. Because people know they will be missing something. They know. They will miss something out. So how many of us have this time? How many of us are able to openly talk about what our sexual desires really are? See, culturally, I know that it doesn't favor our women very much. Because in our culture, if you talk about sex too much as a woman, you are labeled a whore or all the labels. You are labeled. But is that really the case, or should that really be the case? What are the functions of sex? Aside procreation, what are the functions of sex? Enjoyment. So you see, in the initial questions, I asked a question about using sex to punish your spouse. If you do that, it's unsubai. If you do any of those things, change. That is not the function. There are primarily enjoyment or pleasure and procreation were the primary reasons why sex was created. Now, so many things have been added. Financial gains, slave queening, and the rest, just to mention but a few. So the way forward, have time to communicate. Talk openly about sex. If you haven't given your spouse that opportunity or the chance to talk about it, today, talk about it. Ask, how is my performance? Do you think I should modify anything? Is there anything that you think we may be comfortable enough to try? Talk about it. Now, several research shows that the mere experience of talking about sex, increases intimacy by almost 70%. Just being able to talk about sex. It takes away a certain barrier and makes you vulnerable around your partner. And in the process of having time for Madame and having time for Mr., please feel more vulnerable. Don't be rigid. You are just there, like you are reading graphic. No. Let us hear those sounds. When someone touches you, give them a response. Let them know we are working. Let us know. I mean, when you work and you are not getting salary, how do you feel? You resign. You resign. But motivate people to know that they are actually what? Working. When they touch something you like, show the sign. It doesn't mean you are a whore. Neither does it make you weak or be vulnerable around your partner. It is a good thing. 2, remember the days before marriage. And back to the joke I talked about. If you never want to have sex again, get married. Before marriage, a lot of people think about sex every single day. And when they marry, they stop thinking about it. Why? There's no thrill in it anymore, eh? No need to hunt. Lions, dragons. What happened? You suddenly lost your claws? Dragons. Yes, that's what happens. But remember and ask yourself, how did I get here in the first place? What was I doing differently then? Those are the things that remind you that you still have it or you still got it. For a lot of women, when they have a baby, suddenly there is a dip in their desire, which is partly normal. However, some can drag on for months to years, and then they say things like, the place is spoiled. The place is spoiled. Or, I feel different. I feel I'm no longer attractive. So my husband should not see me in such a disgraceful way. Now, these are all psychological pitfalls. It's just in your mind. And the only way to get around it is to actually start. A lot of people forget how pleasurable the activity is, but you just have to do it. You do one, you see, I was deceiving myself. But the mind makes it so real, you don't even start. And then we make all the beautiful excuses. The children, and the baby is waking up every 3 hours. As if you need 3 hours to have sex. So now people have a 3-mode mechanism. Get in, get off, get out. That's the process now of sexual activity. But it shouldn't be so. It doesn't matter whether you have kids. It's a conscious effort that you need to make. And you can only make that if you remember what it was like before you got married or before you had a kid. Now, be vulnerable with your partner. I've said a lot about being vulnerable already. And then, practice anticipation. So I know a lot of married couples have code names for wanting to have sex. Please, keep sending the code names to your spouses at work. Let them know that you are itching. Even if you are not itching, the fact that you send the message, they will give you a response. And it will put you also in the mood. And when you are in the mood itself, don't just start. The foreplay they talk about is real and it's important. So this one goes to the male species because we are the culprits here. So when you look at your wives and you look at all the curves, don't you naturally feel like touching it? Don't you? So why don't you, when you have it, you don't touch it? You decide to go for gold straight without doing the necessary mining. You just go for gold. Galamsey. Is that it? You should explore. You should explore each other's bodies without even wanting to have sex. Now that's a technique we use to increase desire among people. You can explore for hours on end without sexual activity in itself. And when you do a lot of this exploring and you are sending text messages to your spouses, they are in the mood before they come home. And it increases intimacy. So it's important. Also, maintain a sense of curiosity when it comes to sex. Don't be used to it has to be this way. We'll do it like that. So when I was in school, we had a teacher. And he was so strict. Even the way he walked was like this. And we used to make jokes that if he ever had to have sex with his wife, he would first give the sign of the cross. And then he would take his Bible and read the verse that says, don't make another man drink from someone's well. And then he will use that to do his job. Please, open the scope. Be curious. When you hear things, I'm not saying try, but investigate. Try. Don't try. Investigate. Communicate with your partners. There are things that you may think your partner might not be interested in, but they might actually be interested. Like giving them a back rub. Some people say, oh, do it. Ask her. Ask him. Can I please massage? Don't even say, can I please? Just start. Just start. Now, also, let's clear assumptions and all the cultural misconceptions. So, one cultural misconception is a mother should not be engaged in sexual activity. It seems incongruent to a lot of women from the practice. It's something I've noticed that, how can a mother, how can I be? I say, what? How can you be what? Say, a mother, then all I have to do is to lie down. Lie down how? But that is the mindset they have, that a mother should be very, I don't know if the word to use is conservative, or a mother should be motherly, good. So a mother should not do certain things. But that's a cultural misconception. And it falls in line with the assumptions I talked about and the psychological factors that may impede sexual activity leading to sexual satisfaction. And then finally, see a sex counselor or a family and marriage therapist if you feel that you are not getting what you want. See, chances are you are getting exactly that, but your mind is making you feel you are not. So I had a client who was referred. Why? So I've never had an orgasm before. Okay, are you sexually active? Yes. It goes on and on and on and on. Say, so in your mind, what is orgasm? He said, it's a big explosion. I said, which explosion? Nuclear bomb or atomic bomb? Because that is what she's heard people say, that an orgasm is an explosion. It is this, it is this. She was having orgasms without even knowing. So when sometimes you are faced with these problems and you think that it's beyond you, you see a professional and they will sort it. In conclusion, next slide. I propose that we settle all marital disputes in bed, in the bedroom, completely naked. When you have problems, you want to talk about the problems, talk about it, but don't wear clothes. Let us all be like we were created. And you realize that the problems become very small. They don't seem like problems anymore. So that is my solution to fostering an intimate sexual bond with your partner. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Sir, thank you. That was a nice presentation. So I'm going to take us a little away from what my colleague discussed. So we've been in the bedroom for a while. But we realized that in our homes, for couples, we have other members in the home. And those are our children. We want to discuss and also learn a few things about how we can manage our sexual activities so it doesn't impede on our children or affect them negatively. Okay, so we are saying that let's be naked, let's have fun, but how are we doing that in the midst of the little ones around us? So talk about sex education for our children. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm in Kolebu. In recent times, there's a reality. We've had children as young as 3 years having intercourse among themselves with their siblings. So we've had a family of 4 who were sleeping with each other. 13 years, 10 years, 8 years, 4 years. You should hear the 4-year-old talking about what her brother was doing to her, the instructions and the directions he was giving her on how to lie on her. Our children are being exposed, and most parents are busy. We are busy making money, We are busy going to work because we want the best for our children. But in the midst of all of that, how do we protect the innocence of these little ones? Because when they lose it, it'll be very difficult to get it back. So the first part I'm talking about is the contemporary parent. Whilst we are busy making money, most of us, our children are with house helps. We go to work, come back late, house help will bath for the children, feed them, do everything for them, put them into bed before we come back home. There are no restrictions. Because even when the house help speaks, the children don't even listen to her. The telly is on, phone is on, computer is on, free access. What are they watching? What are they looking at? So we have this situation where parents are busy, not available, and the 21st century child, very inquisitive. Look at the children around us. Some of us were not like that when we were younger. The kind of questions my daughter would ask you, I wasn't asking those questions when I was young. They are inquisitive. They are well informed. Some of our children are more informed than us. The things they know, some of you don't know. Trust me. Some of them know a lot. And they have free access. Access. They can type in anything. They can read anything. In fact, sometimes even in church, whilst preaching is going on, you see children sitting by you. They are playing with their phones. Mommy wants you to keep quiet. Have the phone. Take the tablet. Then there is peace. Everybody is fine. Is that not it? We want to have some peace around us. You are making too much noise. Then we silence them with the phones. Those phones that we are giving to them, is it being monitored? Are there restrictions on it? Today's parents are also fully engaged on electronic media and print media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are accessing all kinds of things. And when we finish, we don't even log out. We leave the phones with them. They pick it. They continue where you left off. They can do better than you. And some of us like telenovelas. In fact, some of the adverts on these movies and telenovelas, even just the ads alone, when you watch the ad, hey, and your child, 3 years, they are sitting by you, and you are watching, and it's normal. It's not a big deal. But parents in our generation, most of us were brought up in an environment where sex was the forbidden fruit. You don't talk about sex. No, I don't know if your parents spoke to you about sex, but my parents didn't. Hey, how dare you? Sex. Never have sex. It's no good. Maybe that's the best you will hear from my dad. Don't go near sex. Don't go near a man. You get pregnant. Finish. Menstrual cycle, whatever, safe period, condoms, abstinence. No. Don't have sex. Finish. There's porn. They are checking. They are watching. The parents we see at the clinic, some end up crying because they feel helpless. Say, what do I do now? Look, the whole family, 4 children. Another family is a 6-year-old and his 3-year-old sister. And the 6-year-old brother, he had access to porn on a cousin's phone. So the cousins, the extended family members, when we visit them Sunday after church, when they come over during vacations, who is monitoring? Who is watching? Who is observing? So the 6-year-old is telling me that he didn't do anything. We asked. I spent over an hour. Oh, we stopped the session. We played blogs. We chatted over other things. So, what did you do to your sister? Did you try sleeping with her? Did you sleep on her? No, I didn't do it. He kept saying no. I brought the 3-year-old in. What did your brother do to you? He said I should lie on the bed. I should open my leg. He wants to do one corner. So they were doing one corner when mommy got into the bedroom. If he succeeded in penetration, we don't know. But he was on his sister, naked. Sister, naked. They were doing one corner. But this boy denied knowing anything about it. Parents feel helpless. We seem to lack ideas as to what to do. So, is there a problem at all? Why should we even talk about sex? Why sex education for our children? After everything I've said, is it necessary? Should we talk about sex with our children? Like I said earlier, children are being exposed to pornography very early due to lack of restrictions, carelessness by some parents. So I've had a young girl, 13 years, who was addicted to masturbation. Masturbation, 13 years, constantly masturbating. And when you ask her when she started this, porn. There was porn in the bedroom. When parents are not around, she has access. So she watches to her fill. Children are engaging in sexual intercourse before they are teens. Then LGBT, lesbian, gay sexual relationships. If you don't talk to your children, the schools will talk to them about it. Social media will introduce them to it, whether you like it or not. We can make a taboo of it and never raise it in our houses, but just outside your gate, it will be raised. A colleague was complaining to me that her 4-year-old came back home telling her that they were talking to them about LGBT, that it's okay, it's also another sexual orientation, we have several. She said, so how dare them talk to her child about that? How dare? You are not talking to your child about it. You are not telling the child what to stand for. Other people will tell them what to stand for. So, in the midst of all of this, what can parents do? Really? What can we do? Is it a lost battle? Is that we can't do anything at all, because no matter what you do, internet is there, social media is there. Let's start sex education early. I say as early as 2 years, children know their body parts. They know their private parts. Call the body parts by their names, not kakai. This is your kakai. Vagina is vagina. Penis is penis. Breast is breast. Let's teach them their body parts. In working with children, I print out images of body parts. So you can do that with children. So these are body parts. This is the private parts. These are parts that people are allowed to touch. These are parts that nobody should touch. This is a normal touch. This is an abnormal touch. If anybody touches you here, tell mommy, don't be afraid to talk about it. Let's talk to children about their body parts. Teach children about private body parts. Talk about normal touch. Utilize every opportunity to talk about sex. So you are watching telly, then there's an advert. One of these telenovelas, and the man is about to kiss the woman. Then you quickly change the channel. Oh, so a friend told me he changed the channel. The boy said, Obabe kissy girl. No. He has seen it already. You can use that opportunity to teach the child about kissing, about intimacy. Which people are allowed to kiss? Is it okay for mommy to kiss you on the lip? Is it okay for daddy to kiss you on the lip? What is okay and what is not okay? You are sitting in a car, you are driving through town, you've seen a billboard talking about condoms, pills, and all that. That's an opportunity to start raising the topic about sex education. Use every possible means to teach children about sex. Let's demystify sex. Sex is not a taboo. Sex is God's idea. God created sex for couples to enjoy. I heard a funny story of a woman who was always telling the husband, let's switch off the light and let's cover. Or somebody, God will see us having sex. How can God see you having sex? God created sex. And God is excited about sex. There are people who always switch off their light before they have sex. Hey. What are you seeing in the dark? Don't you want to see and touch and feel? You switch off the lights, close the door, everything quiet. No mourning, no sound. It's a silence activity. Please, demystify sex. Sex is okay in marriage. Sex has to be enjoyed. For some people, it has to take a lot of effort and maybe even counseling for them to get past that idea that sex is okay. Have a sex talk with your family, even as children grow older. You can gather the family together like we do in group therapy. Expose your children to these topics. Talk to them. Don't let them be afraid of you. So a young teenager told me, I'm scared to talk to mommy. I'm afraid. Hey. So she left the house, told her mommy she was going to visit a female friend. Oh, but diverted course no cry. She went to see her boyfriend. Mommy called and called and called and called. Several hours later, she finally picked up. Showed up apologizing. She was afraid to tell mommy she was going to see her boyfriend. Hey, I can't tell mommy that. So she rather write a note and put it under mommy's pillow rather than talk to her in the face. Some of our children are afraid of us. They are scared. So let's provide a conducive environment for children to openly talk about their sexualities. Let's protect the innocence of our children. Please, if you have your children in your bedroom, move them out. At a certain age, maybe 2-3 years. So I have a couple, for 10 years, the children were still in the bedroom. How? How can you have sex with your 10-year-olds? It's after they came for the session that we moved the children out. And they had a 3-bedroom apartment. It's not a single room self-contained. Yes, paranoia. This is how serious it is. So sometimes it's with the mothers. We get so attached to the idea that we have to be around the children. Please, it's a gradual process, but you have to let it happen. Detach yourself. Your children, they will grow. By 13 years, they will leave you and go to secondary school. The bed they were sleeping on in the bedroom, it will be empty. And you'll be left with the person who was there. Yes, after the children are gone, who will be there for you? The one you started with before the children came. So let's make sure that we protect the innocence of our children. Your children can't be in the room whilst you're having sex. Make sure they are not watching. Somebody told me I've been watching through the keyhole observer. She can see. So when you are doing it, make sure that they are not seeing. Hide porns if you have them. If you have pornographic material in your homes, please make sure you hide them from the children. So let's restrict access to gadgets. That's the last part I'll talk about. So for that, you can subscribe to some antivirus. We have different kinds of antivirus protection for our phones, for our laptops. Kaspersky Child Protection Model. It helps protect the child. Certain sites will not be opened. They can't download certain informations. Simple things like this we can do. Just subscribe to it. Manual restrictions. You can manually go to your access control on your computer. Just minimize certain things. Prevent certain things from being downloaded. Google has a filtration system. You can just go on your phone right now, go to Google settings, and click on Save Search. So certain things will not. Let me tell you, you can even try it. I tried once download, just typing in sugar into Google. I was looking for sugar, how we tie sugar in rubber. I wanted a picture of it. I typed sugar. Guess what came? Sugar. Breast, buttocks. I'm serious. You can check. If you haven't put restriction on your phone, when you type sugar, you will get those things coming. Just sugar. Yes. So your child may not be searching for anything bad, but unfortunately, something may download, and they will be forced to watch. Not because they want to watch, but they are curious. So they will watch. Finally, be an example. What kind of parent are you? What kind of example are you setting for your children? In your dressing, in your conduct, in your words, your appearance? What image do you portray for your children? And what example are they observing? What programs do you watch? Model the right behaviors so your children can copy the right thing. If you are hanging around with friends and you are wearing mini, your children are following you, you have friends who are drinking, smoking, your children are there, what kind of behaviors are you modeling for them? So you think it's okay for you to do it. It's okay for you to watch porn on your phone, but it's not okay for your daughter or your son to do same. If you want them to live a certain standard of life, you have to model same for them. Thank you.
Hey, very interesting. Hallelujah. Please, time for questions. Time for questions.
Hello? Hello? Yes, I did. Hello, good evening. So my question is, a few years ago when my son was about 6 years or maybe 7, he came to school one day and said, "Mommy," I said, "Yes. What is sex?" I was not prepared for that question. I thought maybe I'll answer that question at maybe age 12 and 13. Perhaps the teachers would have started something for me. I must be honest, I chickened out. So I said, "Oh, you know, when they say, have you heard of female and male before? So your sex is either you're a male or you are a female. So if you're asked, what is your sex? You will say you are a male. And then a girl will say you are a female." Now, I haven't had that with my daughters yet. But I want to do the sex education. I have done certain things are for grown-ups. You're allowed to see the kissing. Sometime, I think at a point, I told Daddy, let's kiss in front of them. Then we tell them it's only married people who can kiss like that. So if you want to do that on your wedding day, then you can start kissing like that. So we've done that one. Now, if that question comes again, what should I say?
This is the question.
Okay, so how old did you say your son was?
About 6, 7.
6, 7. Yes. So sex is an activity that a husband and a wife engage in.
How do they do it?
Yes. How do they? So you've showed him body parts already. So he already knows body parts. So it's intercourse between a man and a woman using their sex organs. And it's for married couples.
So do you and Daddy do it?
Yes. And it's okay for Daddy and Mommy to do it because we are married.
How do you do it?
How do you do it?
How do you and Daddy do it?
How does Mommy and Daddy do it? When you grow,
you'll
be
know.
able to do it. Yes.
Mommy, so when your Daddy go into the bedroom,
I know there are children like that. Yes. But it's better you tell them than hide it. It's better we tell them. If he's asking, it means he's already had some ideas already.
Are you not sure? Maybe he heard it in the sense I explained it, and you're giving too much information too early.
Oh, that's how you feel. For age 6, I don't think so.
Really?
If you had heard the 3-year-old telling me how her brother slept with her for a 3-year-old, you'll be amazed. So it's better you tell them and let them know that it's not okay for you to do it. That's the main thing. Maybe Seth can add.
This question I have also had before, and my answer was this: it is the way you were brought into this world. And you know, interestingly, they had done pollination in school. So it was easier to use that analogy to explain that just how plants can have their offspring, adults or married people can also do same through the activity of sex. But you are not ready yet because you don't have breast, you don't have pubic hair. And those ones actually make sense then because they can visually also see. So that is another angle, the science part. Yeah. Excellent. So, you see, that aspect, a lot of the times, that is where parents start to have fights with their kids because they are confused. See, when kids start to develop the deep voice, their hips are rounding, they are developing breast. The first question they ask themselves, am I now like daddy? Am I like mommy? So if you are getting all the meat in your soup bowl at home, I should also get an equal what? It's not because they are intentionally rebelling, but they are in a state of confusion and they genuinely want to know. In fact, around that time, from what our theory shows us, they would have developed a formal sense of thinking. So you can talk to them in abstract ways. Unlike with kids where you have to be concrete. You see, with at that stage where they develop pubic hair, that's adolescence. You can talk to them in that sense and they get it. So it's easier. I'm always happy to do sex talk with adolescents. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the kids that worry us, of course. So that is not a problem at all. Yes.
Hello? Yes, in Jeffrey's response, you asked the age first, and then your initial answer was it's an activity done between married people or adults. It suggests to me that you have a spectrum of answers for different ages.
Oh, yes.
Could we go through some of those?
We just gave two.
What kinds of answers? Not specifics, but...
We won't say that there's a specific answer per se, but it depends on the stage the child is at developmentally and what they can understand in their reasoning. A 3-year-old is not even at the stage where you can make analogies to explain what sex is. So it's quite difficult to say. Now, what I notice among kids is that sometimes when you give an answer because daddy said so, or because Jesus doesn't like it, that is if they are Christians. For that age, it makes a lot of sense. But you must be quick to correct it when they've grown older, so that they don't grow into adolescence with the mindset of Jesus doesn't like it, and finally come and marry, and their husbands are saying, let's go and they say Jesus doesn't like it. So it's always good to know. The stage is very important on the answer that you give. Okay.
The way they are not asking questions, they are the people who put off the light in the night. They don't want us to see anything.
They become experts, so they know where everything is. That one is also not bad. All right. Thank you.
Any more questions, please? People have questions, but they don't want to ask. Somebody will ask for you. Or you can also just say, oh, a friend of yours came to you to say that.
Good evening, everyone. Whilst you were teaching, you mentioned keeping your pornographic materials away from the kids. I didn't come in early, so I don't know if you spoke about that. Is it advisable for you to use like a pornographic video whilst having sex, and then it seems like that is now the routine? You actually need it to turn you on before you can have intimacy with your spouse.
Very, very lovely question. So usually when I do sex presentations, I try as much as possible not to bring in these things because they are quite sensitive. But now that you ask, the floor has been open. Now, you see, when we, in psychological terms, okay, we talk about things like dependence. If you necessarily need pornography to get you turned on, there's a problem. It's a big problem. Secondly, if you ask me if I recommend couples to watch pornography, I say no. And this is the reason. It gives unrealistic expectations about sex. You watch a pornography movie or flick, 3 hours, one man. Why? And then, in your mind, it is true. It can be done. And you come and worry the old men like us. 3 hours. Why? You want to kill me? But that is the reality of things that is happening. So people watch pornography without even looking. Now, if you look at pornography, they have specific tags on each kind of pornography you are watching. Okay? Now, if you are not looking for the right tag, you go and look for something like, let me give you one of the tags. There's one called BBT, big booty something. And that is aggressive sex. So you look at it and it becomes the ideal. And don't forget this. The human mind gets addicted to things that seemingly give it pleasure. The same way you can get addicted to cigarettes or marijuana is the same way you can get addicted to pornography, because it gives you a certain excitement. And once you start to get excited, your brain structure also changes. So it's not just chemistry. So the chemicals will do something, but the brain structure will also change to accommodate that particular thing. So because now you are not able to get turned on, because obviously your wife will not let you hang her in the air, or your husband will not be bouncing with you in the air, then what are you likely to do? You resort to something else, or you resort to where you can find that pleasure. But if you cannot get turned on naturally without a motivation, then there's a problem. And you have to come and see us. We'll be more than glad to collect your money.
I just mentioned it that in case you have it, keep it away from the children. Not because I'm recommending it, but people have it in their homes and children are getting access to it. That's the point I wanted to make. Yeah.
There are few that we can recommend. Yes, those are purely educational. So it's used in therapy, but you won't see the sex organs. So if you want to watch healthy, educational sex video, I'm not talking about pornography. Pornography is very different. You don't see the organs. You only see the motions or maybe the positions. Those are the educative ones. But generally, please, don't watch it. You might start visualizing your wife or your husband in a way that they are not. Okay, thank you.
More questions, please. Yes.
I also came in a bit late, so I'm not sure if you've touched on it, but I'm picking up from something on radio this morning, Home Affairs on Joy FM today. It wasn't only that they were talking about, but it came up. It's within the Christian context and everything. What is oral sex permissible, or what about it? Yeah, I don't say like give a yes or no kind of thing, but can we discuss it?
They open the floodgates again. Like I said, try not to bring these controversial issues, but if you ask me, I'd say if your partner is comfortable with it, if only your partner will consent, I don't see anything wrong with it from a social background. And I'm labeling it social background because we found out that oral sex with regards to, what's the word I'm looking for? Oral sex performed in sexual activity gives a lot of sensation. One that, excuse me to say, a hard-on cannot give. So men, let's not be too hard on ourselves. But that is the reality. It should be more of consent. Now, I asked the pastor once if it was wrong to do Felicio or Cornelingus. And what the pastor told me was that he hasn't seen it written in the Bible, but he knows one thing too for sure, that everything you do it to what? To please God. So, in this sense, I'll give the same response. However you do it, make sure that it pleases God. Thank you very much.
Yes, any more questions?
I have the mic. Okay. Let me.
So if Osofo is here and he can comment on that.
Oh, yes.
Can Osofo say he hasn't seen it too, then we know that it's not there.
Okay.
Well, I get asked this question a number of times in when we do the session 6. Yeah. Okay, so again, number one, I give two answers. One, I borrowed from the medical people, and then two, from what you're saying. My research with Reverend Dr. Bedia Kwakutu did to write a book. Okay, so let's give the two. Number one, the medical. I'm told, and it was told me by Dr. Barbara Entia. She said that some people had problems with their dental health. They went to see a doctor, and then they traced what was happening in their mouth to some organisms that should have been in another place. And it gave them serious problems. So she thinks that rather than have extra extra sexual disbenefits, please don't go there. And she thinks that God made, like you're saying, our bodies and everything enough, and we are able to give so much pleasure that we don't need that. So that's the medical point. But it's also been found out that, so for some people, the only way they get pleasure is if they do that. And so it has also been researched and found out that if you will stick to one person, if the same person, okay, then maybe, even though you're going to get some disbenefits, maybe because it's one person, you want to, what do you call it? How do I? Yeah, take the risk or try it. Yeah, so that's the kind of answer that I'm not in my collar. If I were in a collar, I'll say something else. Okay.
My question has to do with, when you enter into marriage, one person is green, the other person has experience, and green person is trying to turn red, learn along the journeys, but maybe then the journey is not quite rough. It's rough. Thank you. What kind of guidance would you suggest in terms of a growth strategy, maybe, for the green person, and also for them to appreciate the challenge that the person with experience has, so that they can be both helpful and supportive in the journey?
Excellent question. So a lot of the times I get asked that question, and my answer has always been this way. Both the green person and the red person all are making a certain assumption that they have the best operation, or that their concept of sex is what is ideal. Now, generally, if I'm experienced, I would feel that my partner is sexually as well. So I have had several of these incompatibility issues. The man had been with 15 women before got married to her. She was obviously a virgin. Now the man says, try this. Say, no. How? Let's do this. Hey, no, how? And then the man gets angry. But if you really need to bring someone to your level, you must first come to their level. as a teacher or the experienced other, you have to come to their level. So I give you a nice example. I work with kids. There was a kid in my office who was pressing on my car alarm. The mother said, bring it, I won't bring it, bring it. It became a whole fight. So I came in, I said, Kweku, press that remote. Press it again. Ping, 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 ping. Press it again. Ping, ping, ping. Now, let me also press some. And then he gives me my key. Because finally, I understand him. That's how the boy sees it. That I can understand him. If you need to bring a green person to a red zone, because you are the expert, you need to calm down. So you need to narrow your expectations. And that's what I keep saying, that you narrow your expectations and make it worth their while. And they'll buy into your idea. But to force it is just chaos.
Can I just have a
Please go.
So what if, in this case, the experience is not necessarily something that has made them excited about sex? So they have experience, but instead of making them excited about sex, it's in the opposite direction.
Exactly. And that is where you seek help. Because I have had clients who have stabbed their husbands on their wedding night. Because when they were 8 years old, they were raped. But because of the way God created us, their own defense mechanisms made it seem like they've forgot that trauma from their mind, okay? And they told their husbands they were virgins. Not that they were lying, but that's what repression does. So on the day of the wedding, husband is trying to finally deflower, and he stabs the husband. Another client bit the husband's ear off because it reminds them of that trauma of what they went through then. So that's when you seek professional help. There's nothing much you can do in that state because it's something that we have to delve into, bring out or find out what caused it or what is causing that negative. Because sex should be enjoyable and pleasurable. So if you are not enjoying sex, there's a problem. And we are here for you. We are ever ready to help in such instances. Oh yes, that too.
Any further questions?
Okay, thank you.
More questions? All right. It seems that the questions are finished. Wait. Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. So, on the bit of, you're talking about ladies giving feedback or partners giving feedback, like working without a salary. I thought my situation was not good enough with feedbacks. We discussed it even during counseling. I remember the counselor told us, the whole act of, having sex, like you rightly said, is not only penetration. It starts from somewhere and then ends there. And sometimes you even have to, it's like a role play. So if you have to give feedback, just try and give feedback. So we're discussing with another couple, some friends, and I remember the lady said, because apparently my friend was traveling to Australia for his PhD. So the night before, we went to visit them just to bid him farewell. Goodbye. And his siblings were around. So they just got married in March. And the siblings were also there to say goodbye to him. So jokingly, we were like, oh, George, why do you allow your siblings to come? And they're in a 2-bedroom. Their bedroom is quite close to that. We're like, Charlie, you are going for some years, so you just got married. This evening you have to, exactly bid your wife goodbye. And maybe the screaming and mournings will be too much, so that these visitors shouldn't even be here. And to our surprise, the wife said, oh, Nana, and I realized that my wife's was better. So how, talk on that situation, because yes, guys, we like feedback.
Sometimes feedback should not be verbal. Feedback should be the way the body responds. It's good. That is the best feedback you need. And when we wake up in the morning after the act, the smiles. So there's a research that's actually shown that the afterglow that people have after sexual performance can last on for 2 days. So usually it's encouraged that between 2 and 3 you have to top up so that the afterglow is constantly there. Now you see, interestingly, this is for the male species. The longer you are married, the lesser your performance. However, the more likely your partner is to have an orgasm. That is the trick. The older you get in a relationship, so when you are married, so you see, we have complaints. Lots of men will come and say, when I got married, I was doing this number of minutes. Now the 3 minutes. Yes, you have built an intimacy. So before you start the act, you are already red hot. This time it's not like the diesel engine where you have to warm up. You are hot, petrol. You start first gear to fifth straight. So don't be worried when you feel like your sexual performance has dipped, especially if you're in a relationship which is over 7 years. It is normal. And somehow you are synchronized because you both climax around the same time. In most cases, that's what happens. Okay, that is if there are no other emotional problems that you have to deal with. But with my solution, if we have emotional problems, what do? We discuss it where? In what mode? Exactly. That's all.
Wow, shall we give a round of applause? I think this is real professional. Another question. Any more questions after this one? It's the little one asking, right?
It's definitely on his behalf. I just wanted to say that when we were growing up, we knew nothing about lesbian, gay issues. But now it seems like we need to educate our children. So how exactly do we do that from a young age? Or how early, should we be trying to educate them? What should we tell them?
Okay. For that, maybe 6, 7, because my 3-year-old, she wouldn't understand. So we as parents, you can assess the cognitive capacity of your child. So you can start telling them, but this is a church presentation. And church Bible is against other sexual orientations. We respect them, we don't judge them, but we don't follow that path. Am I clear? I'm just being careful. Yes, so you don't judge them, you don't insult them. That's another orientation for them, for those with that kind of orientation. So you teach your child. We as Christians, a man marries a woman. That is how God has created it. So man marries a woman. A man cannot marry a man. A woman cannot marry a woman. It's not allowed per your doctrine. Right? And that will save you all the stress. So even if teacher tells you that men are not allowed to marry men, kweku, Bible is against it. Scripture is against it. But you don't insult gays. You don't kill them because they are gay. Yes, they are also human beings just like we are. But they have a different sexual orientation. Okay. I don't understand. You can come and add.
I was just pushing the agenda of, for a kid, you can always ask questions like, do you also want to be a father or a mother when you grow up? How? That's the process. Man and woman brings off offspring. Yeah. Yes. Hey, another question.
Thank you very much for your presentations. When I was coming, I was listening to Sister on Sunny FM. And there was this lady, City FM, 97.3. Yes. And there was this lady who, as a child, she was masturbating with their maid servant. And she never told the parents, and now she's old. And she has a problem of being aroused. I mean, when she sees anything in trousers, or any man in trousers, she's aroused. And it's a big problem. So she's met this guy who wants to get married to her, but the guy is saying that unless she cuts her clitoris, so that she has that feeling. So she brought it to sister for discussion. And my concern is not the bit of the clitoris, but my concern is about our maids and our helpers and our children. What do we do as parents so that I don't know how we'll find out, because this girl never told the parents and she's grown. Years later now it's tormenting her. I don't know if there was some transference or spirit. I don't know what happened. So I want you to help us on that.
This is the last question, isn't it?
Thank you very much. So my question is a follow-up on the lesbian gay question. I'm saying that my question is a follow-up on the lesbian gay question. Personally, I think the church is doing quite little. Especially bringing resource persons to talk to us. Yes, the Bible is against that. We clearly know it. I believe that there are also health issues or implications to that. For instance, especially for the gays, the anal walls weakens. Fluid and other things come out from there in pampers here and there. I believe the health professionals in the church should also really throw more light on those things for people to know the real side effects to these things, so that it guides us. Thank you.
Interestingly, there are males and females who are also not gay, obviously, but are doing anal beautifully. So then it becomes a slippery slope to use that to say because of the concerns, the health. Because there are people married, man and woman, and they are doing the same thing. You say, me, I only like that one. My partner doesn't have a problem with it, and so we are doing it. So there's a lot more that we all need to do. About the health issue, I won't be the first person to say I don't like to have a help at home, so I do things on my own. However, if you have a help, treat them like you would your child. That is to me, this is the biggest advice I can give. Treat them like you would your child. Sometimes I have had instances where a help would engage in such an activity with a child because she was treated as an outsider. So that became more like a revenge path. But if your help is like your child, they could easily come to you with these issues as well. The same way your child can come to you and say, Daddy, I have a boyfriend, or this guy says he likes me, they should be able to come to you as such. What kind of mistress are you, or what kind of master are you? Marijata, where they are unable to approach you, or that person where they can actually come and tell you without feeling that you scold them or judge them. That's all I can say. But the girl's issue can be resolved without cutting off her clitoris. That also I must mention, that there is a disorder that is actually treatable. So it's pleasurable. So she's done it several times. She's obviously become hypersexual. But we have ways of curbing that. So please tell them to seek professional help. They should not cut off the clitoris if you have access to them. Yes.
So in addition to that, we as mothers too, we have to monitor. You see, your health baths for your children all the time. Do you take time to bath for your child? If your child is having a vaginal infection, would you know? Some of us are just so busy that we don't know anything happening to our children. The help does everything, virtually everything. Some people are having issues because house helps have taken over their homes. They wake up in the morning, they don't do anything. They help bath for the children, prepare breakfast, sort lunch out, pack them into the car, make sure they get to school. The mother just dresses up and goes off to work. Daddy too goes off to work. I'm not saying that daddy should be left out, but you are the one in charge of the home. Bring daddy in, enroll daddy into the task. Okay, so let's do that. Let's monitor. If you are monitoring, if something is going wrong, you will know. So if I see my little girl scratching her vagina, I say, what's wrong with you? Why are you itching? Then you check. You look. Does it look fine? Is the place red? Is there something wrong? But some don't even know because you didn't bath for her, you didn't wear her diaper, you didn't wear her panty. So you don't even know there's anything going on. If she's sick, is the help who might even take her to the hospital. So let's be responsible. Let's take charge of our homes. Then these things will not happen. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause. This is awesome. This is real information and real understanding and in-depth knowledge from the professionals. I believe we've got all. It's not all the problems that we've been able to solve here. I believe that if you have a problem, we have Seth Asafo here, clinical psychologist with specialty in sex therapy, lecturer with the Department of Psychiatry of the University of Ghana Medical School, lecturer at Accra College of Medicine, co-founder of the Calm Center, Jifa Awudi, clinical psychologist, Department of Medicine, Kolebu Teaching Hospital, happily married. They are here, they are available, they are professionals. They can address your issue. Please collect their numbers. Maybe your friend has a problem. Collect the number for your friend so that we can save a marriage. They are here today. They will be here with us as we go to the fellowship center. We take a few bites of roasted chicken and apple juice or something. You can collect the number for your friend, and they'll be very happy to give you that number, and then we can address that. So thank you so much for coming, Seth and Jifa. And it's been wonderful. Let's give them another round of applause to address these issues. Some are very difficult. And I believe that God is able to address all these issues with the help of our professionals here. We have ended our meeting. Our next meeting, and this was a joint meeting, Manet and Rich. Can we see the Manet team? Manet team, fantastic. Yes. Shall we see the Rich team? Yes. I don't know which one I decided now, whether the Manet or the Rich. I think it's the bracket. Or maybe the Manet have over the Rich people more, isn't it? So it's some kind of nice balance. But it's good to have fellowship with all. Next month, 3rd Saturday, is Manet Couples Fellowship. We don't have a topic yet, but we'll send it to you at the right time. Rage is it a breakfast meeting? It's breakfast meeting Saturday, 2nd Saturday of the month of August. Very close to my birthday. Those who have birthday gifts for me, it's 15th August. I send it to my wife, Mrs. Georgette McCarthy. She will gladly receive it, and my secretary will send you a thank you note. If you can't, just send me a text message and wish me well. If you don't want to do that, just pray for me. Hallelujah. On 15th August, remember. Yeah. So we have a breakfast meeting just around my birthday time. It will be fantastic, talking about education for our children. Education for our children. What are we doing? What are the pitfalls? Where are we sending our children? What are we teaching them? What are the parameters that we are looking at? Which countries are we taking them to? Which localities are we sending them to? We'll get some professionals from schools in Accra, professionals who can teach us about educating our children. So please come, all are invited. Call your friends also who need this kind of lecture. And I think it will go with a very nice breakfast. We'll give you details on the cost and so on. I think at this point we can do our closing prayer. Shall we stand, please, and ask Reverend Kofi Ankama Asamoah to kindly close us in prayer.
Father, we thank you for bringing us. We began in your name and ask